My question to all my elected officials out there is, you took an oath to office that included an oath to the US and California Constitution. And one of your jobs as an elected official is to inform the public. And I've been trying to inform the public, not for weeks now, but for months. And Del, the reason why I was even keyed into the possible health impacts of masks, of wearing N95 masks or any kind of face covering, is because I've been a house painter for 35 years. And 20 years ago, I started getting a cough at nighttime that would not go away. And I realized and found out that I have what's called industrial bronchitis. Where did that come from? They came from me wearing my mask incorrectly. Wearing it for a day or two, thinking, oh, it's no big deal, it's a mask, it will still protect me. That was not the case. Whether I'm painting or not now, my lungs are permanently damaged from wearing my N95 mask incorrectly. So that's where I started looking at this differently, the mask issue, because I knew for a fact that it could damage. People say to me, Renette, medical experts, medical, nurses, doctors, they wear masks all the time. Of course they do, in a sterile environment. They've been trained professionally how to wear it. They know that they can wear it for a half hour to an hour and they must change it out. They know not to touch it or move it once it's on its face. When they go from one room to another room, they replace it with a new mask. This is not what the public is doing. This is what I was told, and all these other elected officials on our Zoom calls with the county and our Dr. Cutler, who is the director of the public health department. And he too said, from his own personal observation, he could see that the public was wearing their masks incorrectly and that it could lead to more health risks than not, and that it was a very false sense of security. What happened?
Yeah, right. I mean, and all of these things you're saying, we've been reporting now, just as you're saying, for the last several months on the high wire here. And I think as I'm sitting here listening to you, I'm asking what I think everyone in our audience, millions around the world, are asking is, why are there so few of you? Why are there so few people in government that are capable, as John Ziegler said, can you do math? Are you incapable of doing simple math? Will you just please do the simple math? We are not at the place we were back in January or even December when we were watching this thing happen in Wuhan. We had no idea what was coming. We have millions of people infected around the world. Every single continent has seen this. All the data is now available. We're seeing that, as the CDC is reporting, the death rate is apparently about 0.26%. Mostly in those that are, older and have other comorbidities. And yet we are destroying our economies. What are the health consequences of children walking around in masks and babies? And I'm going to talk about that later in our show. But, for those of us that aren't in government, and I've talked to a lot of politicians over the last several years, and it took a while to recognize government's actually just regular people that had regular jobs, painted houses, or were bankers or real estate agents that get into government. I think we kind of think, oh, they're just this special brand of human being that, we're just smarter than everyone else. But what is it, and especially in California, what is it with the government there that so few politicians can look at the obvious science and the obvious math and the obvious destruction that killing your economy, killing jobs, destroying people's ability to, thrive and make money, shutting, and as you point, let's just leave the financial issue out, as though Democrats, I guess, don't care about finances. I'm a lifelong Democrat, was anyway. By the way, I do think finance matters. But shutting, nurses being furloughed, doctors not in hospitals, no oncologists available, no nephrologists. I mean, why are you the only one?
I think people are afraid for their lives. I've been speaking out, and I've absolutely 100% been vilified. This is my hometown. I've lived here since I was 4 years old. And I started to invest myself in this community because I believed in the people. I knew that we were going to be having rough times in the future. And if there's anything I was going to invest in, it was the people of this community. And I've been asking myself that exact same question. What happened here? Because from what I can tell, we are in an existential crisis. We have lost all forms of what to believe in. And from what I can observe, we went into our homes in quarantine. We were then subjected to what I call fear porn 24/7. That did a number on us. And when I saw people walk outside of their homes, you know what I saw? It was equivalent to what I saw when I went to Hurricane Katrina after the hurricane and did mucking out homes, rebuilding, animal rescue. I saw people in a state of shock, PTSD. We have actually been traumatized. We don't know what our future holds for us. The world is no longer the same. We do not feel safe. We have no confidence in the economy, opening up businesses, investing in businesses. We are literally traumatized. And there's two things people are doing. They are either doing fight or flight. They're going into the fetal position and going undercover, or they're fighting for their lives. But part of the problem here is people are fighting for their lives with a lot of disinformation that has been sent their way in their homes for weeks and weeks at a time. And when you look psychologically what's happening, it is actually considered a crime to actually put somebody into solitary confinement for more than 22 hours a day, 15 days a week, or 15 days in a row. 22 hours a day, 15 days in a row. Think of how many people are still to this day locked in their homes.
Wow.
And all they're doing is hearing 24/7, be afraid, be afraid, be afraid. The news that I have been trying to share to my community for weeks and weeks now is, you guys, we are so lucky. It is not what we thought it was when it was coming out of Wuhan, which was, and this from Johns Hopkins University, that it was the number of infected was doubling every 5 to 6.4 days. When I originally signed our declaration, our disaster declaration in Nevada City, it was under that idea and belief, because those are the models, those were the predictions, that it was doubling every 5 to 6.4 days. Thank God that didn't happen. If it had, that means the whole entire planet would have been infected by the end of April.
What did happen? What did happen in Nevada City? What is the death rate there? How many people have died there? I mean, are you obviously you're being accused of being reckless for your statements. You've been in charge there. So what are the numbers coming out of Nevada City?
Well, first of all, Nevada County itself is interesting. We're a very long county, and on the other side of the county, you actually have to go over the Sierra Range, the Sierra Mountain Range.
Okay.
And so over there, they have had one death.
Okay.
They've had one death, and that was, I believe, an 80-year-old who was battling cancer. I also have to tell you, they had one 14-year-old commit suicide as well. So when you look at lost years of life, we're in the red, we're in the negative. We have a young 14-year-old who probably lost about 70 years on her life versus an 80-some-year-old who probably lost a couple years of their life. And so, again, why aren't we weighing that? But here we are on the other side of a range. We have one death. And this community, we are a community of activists. That's why I've invested myself in this town, is because I believe in us. When we are impassioned, we can move mountains. And so I've always been investing in ourselves. And when we were told to lock down and quarantine, we were on it. We did it happily. We did it beautifully. We were all in concert, that everything got so quiet in town. You didn't hear traffic any longer. People were walking around, visiting people throughout the town, saying hello. And it was actually a wonderful, quiet, peaceful moment in time. And we did it. We flattened that curve. But then there was this extended lockdown, and the data did not back it up, and nobody was speaking up. And I have to go to sleep at night every night and sleep well. And there's no way I can just go along with this when I know I'm looking at the data and I'm talking to people. I'm talking to medical workers. We're talking doctors and nurses, and they're saying the exact same thing to me. Renette, I can't tell you. Everywhere I go, Del, everywhere I go, I'm literally having people, ironically, pulling down their masks, right, getting COVID, bacteria, viruses all over their hands, and they're pulling down their masks saying, Renette, thank you so much. I so appreciate what you're doing, but I just can't. I can't speak up because my job. I can't speak up because my boss, Renette. And when I go out, it's so difficult for me to go outside now because everyone is pulling down their masks, setting me aside, saying, Renette, thank you so much. I thought I was alone. And I just can't speak up. I'm like, I understand. That's why I am. And right now, I would say I've lost about 90% of my friends. Why in the world would I lose everything that I've invested in, including my dear friends that I've known since I was like a teenager and a child? Why would I go to this extent and push this conversation if I didn't think I was getting backed up by something? If I didn't think there was truth in what I was saying?
Right now in the United States, people should not be walking around with masks. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is. And often there are unintended consequences. People keep fiddling with the mask and they keep touching their face.
A surgical mask, let's start with that one, does not protect you from the from a respiratory virus. It's got leaks all around it, and it's really designed as a barrier protection for people in the operating room. That's why they call it a surgical mask. The N95, which is the one that people are buying up, important also to understand that that N95 mask, I have to be fit tested for it. I've got to make sure I've got a tight seal to wear it as a healthcare provider. The average person out there, the average citizen, that mask is not going to protect them, and as a matter of fact, in most cases, they're actually going to increase their risk of being contaminated with a virus when they're wearing that mask improperly, because they tend to touch their face, they tend to move it around. It's very uncomfortable, it's hard to breathe in. Not only are you not preventing yourself from getting a disease, you may be increasing your chance of getting a disease by wearing that mask.